Emily sat on the back porch of her grandmother's house, hugging her knees to her chest as the autumn wind kissed her cheeks. The leaves were falling fast now, dancing to the rhythm of change. She had come to this quiet town for peace, but instead, she found herself drowning in everything she'd been trying to run from. The hoodie she wore wasn't hers. It was Liam's. It hung off her shoulders like a warm memory she never wanted to forget. He had lent it to her the night she broke down, saying nothing as he wrapped it around her and let her cry without asking why. She hadn't known how to explain it anyway. The city had drained her. Work had become a blur. Her engagement had ended not with a bang, but a fading whisper, a cold text, and even colder silence. Her heart had cracked quietly, without announcement. And then there was Liam. She met him on her second day in Maple Hill, while wandering into the small local bookstore that smelled like cinnamon and old pages. He was sitting behind the counter with a cup of tea and a quiet smile, not quite belonging there, yet somehow entirely at home. His presence didn't demand attention. It invited calm. "Looking for something specific?" he had asked, voice gentle. She hadn't known how to answer that then. But now, weeks later, she realized she had been looking for quiet. For someone who wouldn't rush her healing. For someone who would just stay. She heard footsteps behind her on the porch and turned her head slightly. "You always wear my hoodie like it's armor," Liam said, stepping closer, hands in his pockets. "It feels like one," she replied softly. He sat down beside her, careful not to rush her space. "You know you can keep it, right?" She smiled faintly. "What if I want more than the hoodie?" His eyes met hers, warm and unshaken. "Then I'll give you that too." They sat in silence, the kind that didn't beg to be filled. Emily felt the heaviness in her chest ease just a little. His hand was close, not quite touching hers, but close enough that she could feel the comfort of it. "How do you do that?" she whispered. "Do what?" "Make everything feel okay when it's not." Liam looked out at the trees. "Because I know what it's like to feel broken in a world that keeps asking you to smile." She finally turned to face him, their eyes locking. "And how did you survive it?" "I stopped pretending I had to do it alone." The simplicity of his words sank deep. For so long, Emily had clung to the idea that healing meant solitude, that she had to rebuild herself before letting anyone near. But Liam, he didn't ask for the perfect version of her. He stayed when she was quiet. He listened without fixing. He gave her space without letting her feel abandoned. And slowly, without her realizing, she began to trust him. She remembered the night she saw him standing in the rain outside the grocery store, hoodie-soaked, holding a small bouquet of wildflowers and a note. He didn't say much, just handed them over and left. The note had said, "You don't owe me joy. Just let me stand beside you through the storm." She hadn't cried since the breakup. Not really. But that night, curled in his hoodie, flowers on her windowsill, she let the tears fall freely. Tonight, the wind picked up again, pulling her gently back to the present. "Do you want to come in?" he asked. "No," she said, leaning into his side. "I want to stay here. Like this. Just a little longer." He wrapped his arm around her, finally, pulling her close. No questions. No expectations. Just warmth. And in his arms, in the soft fabric of his worn-out hoodie, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Safe. Whole. Home. Over the following days, they fell into rhythm. Not quite love yet, but something like it. Something quieter. He took her to the farmer's market, letting her pick apples and laugh for the first time in months. They walked by the lake, and she shared pieces of herself she thought she'd buried. He never pushed. He just listened. And one evening, as they sat on the bookstore floor after hours, surrounded by books and soft music, Emily pulled the hoodie tighter and turned to him. "I think I stopped looking for forever because I didn't believe it existed anymore," she said. Liam looked at her with eyes that held patience and quiet certainty. "Maybe forever isn't a place you find. Maybe it's a feeling." She nodded slowly, her heart thudding. "And this feels like forever." That night, he didn't hold her because she was broken. He held her because she was whole, even if she hadn't realized it yet. And in his hoodie, In his arms, she felt the world melt away. They didn't need grand declarations or dramatic promises. They just needed moments like these, quiet, honest, steady. The seasons changed slowly, and so did Emily. Her laughter came easier, her sleep deeper, her steps lighter. And one morning, as the first snow fell gently over Maple Hill, Liam handed her a cup of coffee and a small box. Inside was a new hoodie, soft gray, just like the old one. Except this one had her name stitched inside. "For all the days you forget how far you've come," he said, smiling. "And for all the days I'll remind you." She looked up at him, tears in her eyes, and knew she didn't need to say anything. He already knew. In that moment, wrapped in love, warmth, and quiet understanding, Emily realized she had found her forever. Not in the city, not in perfection, but in a borrowed hoodie, in quiet kindness, in arms that never let go, and in him, Liam, her forever.